See, we are going to record the sessions every day and we're going to upload to the YouTube also from today onwards. Okay. All right. Yeah, Deepthi, can you unmute and tell me what is the example we discussed on abstraction?
It's a concept and idea, sir. Idea of something.
Wonderful. So abstraction definition is concept and idea. Okay. What is the example we discussed to understand, make the understand?
Restaurants.
Okay. Right. See, the abstraction, yeah, it's an idea. See, everything starts with an idea, right? So when before fans were discovered, so was fan an idea, an abstraction,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, if you look at it, animal is an abstraction, right? Animal is an idea, but actual reality is cat, dog. These are all actual instances. You cannot create an animal directly, isn't it? The dog is an animal, cat is an animal. So the abstraction is abstract class is something. So where the most common attributes will be captured, like a vehicle. What are the attributes of a vehicle? Vehicle will have an engine, right? A handle, a steering. So that is a vehicle. But you cannot directly create a vehicle, isn't it? Right? So that's what is the abstraction. Okay. So we discussed about object-oriented programming concept. We also discussed about what are the fundamentals of programming languages, right? So these are all the things so far we covered. So today I'm going to, today we're going to cover what are the variables in Java, what are the keywords in Java, right? How do you create a class? How do you create an object and all, right? So all of you just in front of your laptop, let me just show you how do you create a project. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all of you open your Eclipse. So if you're sitting in front of laptop, so when you open an Eclipse, so every day, see, this class requires all of you to be in front of your laptops and open your Eclipse and all. Be in ready mode. Okay. So how do you create a project in Eclipse? You have to go to File. You have to go to New and Java project. Right? File, New Java project is how you create your project. Then you have to enter your project name here. So you have to enter test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So this is the project you will create and then you click on finish. So when you create a project, where will it appear? It appears here. It appears under Project Explorer. So we created test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under it, you will have a JRE system library, right? And then you have SRC. What is JRE? JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Okay. So then under that, you will have a source. Okay. So how do you create? So then classes. So let me go here. So then how do you create a class? So steps is click on SRC. You have to say write and then say new the class. Okay. So you have to enter your class name. Class names must start with the capital letters. All the class names must start with a capital letter and all variable names must start with a small letter. Okay. So that is the naming convention. You have to enter the class name and you have to select public static void main. Right? So then click on finish. Okay. Okay, so you need to have a package. So it doesn't allow you to create directly under SRC. So you need to create package. What is a package? Does anybody know what is a package? Can somebody tell me what is a package in Java? Okay, so what is a package? So package is like your wardrobe. So
Similar.
package is like a wardrobe. Yeah, Rekha, tell me, what is a package?
So it is a collection of similar types of classes, all similar types of classes, interfaces put together.
Okay, so to understand it semantically, package is like a wardrobe. So what is the purpose of a wardrobe?
To help organize things.
Exactly, to help organize all your dresses, right? So all your dresses, you organize them, right? So your pants, your shirts, your dresses, your churidars, you all organize them in a different drawers, right? Similarly, the concept of a package is to organize the classes. Okay, so to organize the classes, you need to have the packages. So the package is nothing but it's a folder on your Explorer. Package is nothing but a folder in your computer. Okay, clear everyone? Right?
Yes, sir.
So what we have to do is, so after creating this thing, so then we have to create a package, create the project, then you have to create the package. How do you create the package? SRC, then new, then you say package. So there is a naming conventions for the package, right? The standard naming convention is every package should start with com, C-O-M, dot company name. The next is com dot company name, dot application name, right? So that is the naming conventions you should follow. So we will create com dot, say Java, let's call the company name is Java full stack dot, so test. So that is your package, right? So we create the package. So whatever the class we created, okay. So now we are so first step is create the package, create the project, then create the package. Then under that you create your classroom. Again, file new and then the class, right? So you create the class, enter the class name. Class name should start with the capital letter, right? So what is the what is the syntax of a class here? So the syntax of a class is public, class, these are all the keywords, and the class name. That is test 1, 2, 3. In that, again, public is a keyword, static is a keyword, void is a keyword. How do you know which are the keywords? If you see, they're all highlighted. Public, class, public, static, void, these are all highlighted. This is the main method. Okay. So the class starts with this and ends with here, and method beginning and method end. So this is how you have to use your Eclipse for creating your project. And hey, who is that? Who is continuously talking? Boss, be on mute, no, mute if you're talking. Right? Now let's go to some of the fundamentals. Okay, so what is a variable? What is the purpose of a variable? Can somebody tell me? Kavya or Narendra? What's the purpose of variable?
To store data of that particular type.
To store the data of that particular type. Okay. You all have done the maths, right? Trigonometry and calculus and algebra and all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you use the variables there in the mathematics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the purpose of variables there?
For to store the data.
For?
To store the data, sir.
Okay. So but there you are not using computer, right? Where are you storing the data?
Yes, sir. We are manually assigning the values to the particular type. For example, if I have
Right?
for to
Okay.
perform the calculations.
Absolutely, right? So here, so there you are manually calculating and you are using the variable. So now if we want, the purpose is we want the computer to do the calculations. What's the difference between mathematics you are doing and versus here? So we want the computer to solve the problem. Correct, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is
Yes,
what
sir.
we are learning. So if you want the computer to solve the problems, then so the same way that you do use your variables in the mathematics, so you have to use the variables in the software.
Trisha,
And variable
first
points to
line
what?
insert
You saying something?
insert row.
Okay. So the variable, what exactly is the variable? What is the definition of variable?
For to store the data.
No, the purpose of variable is store the data, but what exactly is a variable?
It's like containers, sir.
Exactly. Variable is a
Container.
container.
Population
Right?
solely for insert.
Exactly. It's a container and for the memory location. The container is like a bucket, right? The bucket is a container for water. Right?
Yes,
Or
sir.
bucket is a container where you put all your cloth. Similarly, variable is a container for
Container for
memory
data.
location. It points to a memory location.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
So
Okay,
what
sir.
else is the variable is required? For every variable, what is necessary?
Data type, sir.
Exactly. For every variable, data type is required. So what is the purpose of having a data type for the variable?
For to identify which data it is.
No.
For example, if we have a string data, number data, and also float data, first we need to identify that. So we must give the data type in that for that particular variable.
Okay. To make it easy, so see, I think somebody is talking personally. If you are on, if you don't, if this is a class, if you're talking something personally, please go on mute. Okay. In this class, only the technical stuff when you're talking, they're saying anything personal you're talking, go on mute and talk. Right. So now the variable is pointing to a memory location. And then the moment you say a particular data type, let's say if the data type is integer, in that memory location, you can store only the integer values. So let's say you declare the data type as integer and try to store a float value or a character, then it is not allowed. Who doesn't allow you? If you let's say declare integer as I and try to store a string, what happens? Who doesn't allow you that? So that is not allowed by the compiler, right? So if you declare integer as I and try to store a character or a boolean value or something, then the compiler says, boss, this particular memory location, you can store only the integer value. So every variable will have a name and data type. So what is essential for a variable? It's a name and a data type, right? So there are three kinds of, variables has three types: local, static, and instance, right? So what are the three variable data types? Three variable types: the local variable, static variable, and So basically the instance variable. Okay. So can somebody tell me what is the difference between these two, these three? Local, static, and instance? Anybody knows? Okay. So the instance variable is nothing but the attributes. Remember we discussed about, so the class and objects come from where? How do you identify the objects or the classes? We discussed, right? How do we identify the classes and objects? Chandu, how do we identify the objects and classes? You are on mute, Chandu.
Sir, is objects class is identified by capital letter with the
No. But how do we identify what is the class required? What did we discuss?
is
Soumya, we
name,
discussed, right?
name.
How do you know which classes to write? Archana, how do we know which classes to write? Or Kavya, how do we know which classes to write? How do you identify the classes and objects?
Class is a custom object, no, sir.
Sir,
Correct.
classes
Class
will
is a
be,
custom data type, but how do you know where do we get these classes and objects from?
sir, classes will get from the package, sir. If you give the class, we need to describe it with class and also have to give the class name and the
No,
object.
that is technically. That is technical. I'm asking, how do you identify what is the class that is required? What is the object that is required? We've discussed this.
Some which is existing in the physical world.
Exactly. That's wonderful. So the classes and objects come from where?
In the
From
physical
the
world.
physical world, right? So in case of a Swiggy, what are the classes we are writing? Restaurant, delivery agents, customer, food items. What are these four?
Classes.
Now these four exist
Right.
where?
Objects.
In the physical.
These
Physical
four
world.
exist in the physical world, isn't it?
Physical world.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Restaurants exist in the physical world, right? Delivery agents exist in the physical world, customers exist in the physical world, food items exist in the physical world.
Yes, sir.
And so for these physical worlds, in the information world, what are we doing? We are creating the classes and objects.
Yes, sir.
Class is to describe these physical world. What is a class? It's a blueprint which
Of the-
describes this physical world. And
Sir.
object is
Sir.
equivalent of that particular. So if there are 10,000 restaurants, you have 10,000 objects. But how many classes are there?
Then, sir, can you explain classes and objects again? Because
What
I
I'm
can't
saying.
understand.
So, for example, take Swiggy, right? So in Hyderabad, so there are, let's say, 10,000 restaurants are there. Is that clear, everyone? Can you all understand this statement?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you go around Hyderabad, there are probably, if you count it, there are probably going to be 10,000 physical restaurants. Is that statement clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, so what is the class? So for every restaurant, how do you describe a restaurant?
By its name.
So now these 10,000 restaurants are what? Physical. They exist
Yes.
physically, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So what does it mean by physically exist? So they go, if you go to a particular location, physically they exist in a particular location and address,
Yes, sir.
right? So now that is the physical world. So now this physical world, we wanted to bring it onto the information world. What is software?
Software
End of the
is
day, what is the
virtual.
definition of software?
Software is creating the physical into the virtual.
Exactly. Software is nothing but Swati, why are you on? You are talking, but you are not switching on your video. Why?
Sir, actually, it's not working, sir, properly. It
Oh,
shows some
video is not
blur,
working.
and also, this press screen is not presented if I switch on my camera. That's why it's turned off it.
Okay, anyway, that's good. Okay, so you have 10,000 physical restaurants. So now what is the we are trying to do? We are trying to bring them into information world, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
What did Swiggy do? Swiggy brought these 10,000 physical restaurants onto information world,
Information.
right? Is that what not Swiggy is doing? So when you open a Swiggy application, are you seeing these restaurants physically, or are you seeing them as information? Swiggy or Zomato,
Is information.
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 right? When you open a Swiggy or Zomato application, you are seeing these 10,000 restaurants in what form you are seeing them as?
Information.
Information form.
Information form, right? So this Swiggy and these 10,000 restaurants, you are seeing them in the information form. That is clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Right? So now these are, so how do you bring these physical restaurants into information form? So that is what is the software doing, right? So what is information form of a restaurant? Or for example, let's say, what is information form of all of you? You all have information form? You all exist physically, right?
Yes, sir.
Habiba, what is the information form of a person? Can you tell me? You all exist physically, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
No, I think you're on mute, Habiba. Can you speak? Unmute yourself and speak. Or Lavanya, can you tell you exist as a physically, right? How do you put yourself into information form?
Yeah, yes, sir. My name is, we can say my name is Lanya and I am from Andhra. Computer description of ours.
Exactly, right? So you exist physically and you exist as information form. What is your information form? Your name, your age, your date of birth, what class you are studying, what is your address, what is your mobile number, what is your email. This is your informational form, right? So how do you bring this information form into this thing? That is what is the class is. What is the class? Class is capturing the
Description of
information about a person in the information form. What is a class? Class is capturing the information about the physical things in the information form. That is a class. Right? So, Swati, for your question, for these 10,000 restaurants, what is the common across all these 10,000 restaurants? So, every restaurant has a name, a restaurant has an address, mobile number, email, right? So these are all the information form, isn't it? What is the food items it serves? Is it a vegetarian restaurant or non-vegetarian restaurant? What food items it serves? These are all the what is this thing. So what is a class? Class is nothing but describing the restaurant. How do you create a restaurant class? So you create a class. In that class, what are the various attributes required? Restaurant, name, address, email, mobile. So that is your information form of a restaurant, isn't it? Right? Similarly, in the Swiggy, what is required? Delivery agent. For every so delivery agent exists physically,
No.
right? So delivery agent exists physically or not? Come on.
Sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
It exists, right? So what is a delivery agent? Delivery agent is a person. So he has a two-wheeler or right? A two-wheeler has a number. He has a mobile number. So that is what is the description of a delivery agent in the information form, right? So delivery agent in the physical form and delivery agent in the class form. The class form is nothing but information form. Right? Is that clear? Similarly, the customer.
Sir.
Customer exists physically.
Yes.
Okay. So what is the information form of a customer? Customer has a name, address, mobile number, email, right? So that is information form of a customer. That is the customer class. So what did we say? Classes and objects exist where? They exist in the?
Physical world.
They exist in the physical world.
World.
Right? Classes and objects exist where? They exist in the
Physical world.
physical world. So how do you create the classes and objects for the physical world? The class is nothing but the description of common attributes of a, for example, restaurant class is the description of the restaurant. What is an object? That individual details. For example, Dwaraka restaurant is one object, right? Paradise is another object. So like this, there are 10,000 restaurants. You have 10,000 restaurant objects. How many classes are there? For these 10,000 restaurants, how many classes are there?
One class, sir.
One class.
Exactly. Is this concept clear to everyone?
Yes,
This is
sir.
fundamental to software.
Yes,
If
sir.
you do not understand this, you cannot do anything. How many of you understood this? How many of you not understood? Those of you who did not understand, can you chat quickly? Raise your hands or chat saying, I did not understand. Everyone understood?
Sir, can
Yes,
you
sir.
please explain it again?
Sorry?
Can you please explain it again, sir? Because somewhere I have doubt.
No. Okay, ask your question first. What did you understand? If you tell me, then I'll explain. What did you understand? So far, Swati, that's your question, right? So far, what did you understand? Tell me.
Sir, actually, I want to know these variables, sir, because local and static I have doubt.
No, variables I'll come to that, but did you understand class and object? That's first question.
Yes, sir, I understood. Sir, we need object we have to create for the class, sir. We
Exactly.
must
So
create
class
the
is the
object.
description, right? For example, we said restaurant class is, it's a description of a restaurant.
Yes,
So
sir.
one class exists. And the object is actual values of these variables. Right? Restaurant name is a description. For Dwaraka restaurant, what is the name? Dwaraka. What is the address of Dwaraka? Lakdi Kapul. So the actual values of that particular physical restaurant is an object. Actual values is an object. Is clear?
Okay, sir.
So actual values of so there are 10,000 restaurants. You have 10,000 different values for name is different, address is different, mobile number is different, email is different for these 10,000 restaurants, isn't it? Is it or is it not? Nobody's answering.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we all go to, there are 10,000 physical restaurants exist. All these restaurants have the different names. They have different addresses, different mobile numbers. They have different food items they supply.
Yes, sir.
So we need to bring all those 10,000 restaurants information into computers, right? So that means what? The values. So you need 10,000 different objects, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the object is what? Object contains actual values of these instance variables. So the class is what? Class is what is the name and what is the data type. right? So let me show you the actual class. For example, can you all see this? Can you all
Yes,
see
sir.
my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the class? It's a customer. What is the class?
Customer.
Customer. So these are all the local variables. These are all called the not local variables. They're all called instance variables. What are they called?
Instance
They
variable.
are the instance variables, right? So they are called the instance variables. So, and what is this is called? This is called constructor, right?
Sir, why
Constructor
it
is,
is called constructor, sir?
yeah. Constructor is what? Constructor is to create an object. What is the purpose of a constructor? Constructor is to create an object,
Sir, we can
right? So you
create
have
the
10,000 physical restaurants exist. So you need to create 10,000 objects, right?
sir, we can create the object by using class name also, but why we are using constructor, sir?
How do you create it without without a constructor? How do you create it?
Sir,
How do you create it? Tell me.
with the class name, sir, by using class name and the new keyword. We can
Yeah, but the
create
new class name, when you give it, what exactly you are calling it? When you give new and the class name, what does it calls internally?
I don't know, sir.
So then you learn somewhere, but you have half-baked knowledge. Where did you hear about this new and class name?
While creating object, we use new keywords.
Exactly. When you say new and the class name, that is nothing but that then it calls the constructor. What does the compiler calls internally? It calls the constructor. That is new and the class name is nothing but the particular constructor gets executed. So to create an object, constructor is a must. Either a constructor or you need to have an empty constructor or a full constructor. We'll talk about the different types of constructor. So what is a constructor? Constructor is equivalent to, so what is the name of the construction? What is the semantic meaning of a construct? Constructor is construction. What is the semantic meaning of construction in the physical world?
To build something.
Right? So in the physical world, for example, let's say you want to build a house. Right? So you are constructing, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So that is physical world, you are using the construction. Equivalent of that construction in the physical world is called construct. That is what is called the construct in the information world. That constructor is equivalent of physically constructing something in the physical world. That is what is called the, in the information world, that is called construction. So you are creating the construction in what form? In the information form. In the physical world, you are physically constructing the house. In the information world, you are creating the house in the information form. Is that clear? So to construct the house in the information form, you need a class and a constructor object. In the physical world, you construct differently, right? So that equivalent of that is called the constructor. So you need this is called the instance variables, and this is the constructor. So what is this customer object has? It has a name, and data type is string, and address, data type is string, mobile number, and data type is called long, right? So for the constructor, what is that you have to pass? So you want to construct an object for these three fields. You have to pass these three fields to the constructor object, right? So these values come here and then assign to them to this. This is what? This is the object. right? So how do you create an object here? For example, if you look at it here, so here you are calling customer. So this is what you are explaining, right? You are asking new customer. So here, what are we doing? We are creating the customer object by passing the specific values. So we are passing name, address, and mobile number. Okay, so we are creating one customer object. So if there are 10,000 customer objects, we have to call this new customer for 10,000 times. Okay, so similarly, if we have 10,000 restaurants, you have to call the new restaurant 10,000 times to create the restaurant object 10,000 times. Okay, is that clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the class. So how did the declaration of the class? Public class. These are the keywords. This is the class name. In that, these are all called the instance variables, and this is called the constructor. Constructor name. This is also method. The name of the method should be same as your class name. So that is why it's called the constructor. So the constructor, these are all called what? These are all called parameters. What do you call them as? They call them as a parameter. So what is the definition of a parameter? Parameter is the values you pass it on to. Right. Here, what are the values we have to pass? We are passing 3 values. So when you call 3 values, we are passing from here, and those 3 values are mapped to here. Okay. So this is called this is the constructor, and we use the constructor to create the object. Okay, is that clear? Okay. So you have, those are all called so this is called the instance variables. What is a static variable? Static variable is called class level. So static is at a class level and instance is at a object level. So what's the difference between static and instance? Static variables are at class level. Okay. And instance variables are at for object level. If there are 10,000 restaurants, you have 10,000 different values for the instance variable. Whereas a class, there is only one value for all 10,000 objects. Okay, that is called the static. What is a local variable? Local variables are all which are used inside the methods. For every method, you can use the instance. For example, so I can declare int test. So this is called this test variable is called, this is the local variable. What is the definition of local variable? It's local to the method. So what are the different types? Local variable is declared inside the method. Static variables are at a class level. Instance variables are at a object level. The values of instance variables are different between object to object, whereas the class variable is the same value across all 10,000 objects. That's the difference between local, static, and instance. Okay. Okay. Then, so there is something called setters. Setters and getters. Have you heard of setters and getters?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. What is the definition of a setter and what is the definition of a getter?
So these are the methods that we use to get the information that we have encapsulated. get method will usually return some data type that we are asking it for, whereas setter method, it will set some value that we provide as input to it.
Okay. All right. So you see, the object creation can happen two ways, right? So one is a constructor. If you can pass all the values to the constructor, then the object is created. Or you use the empty constructor, and then, for example, here, if you look at it here, see, I've created an object customer, right? And then I can change the values, these three values, right? Different. See, I create an object Suren, West Maradpalli, this thing, and then I'm changing the values, these three values to different. So when I print it, these three values printed, when I print it here, right? Okay. So that, see, you can set the values, the constructors there are multiple constructors are possible in the class. You can have multiple constructors. A class contains multiple constructor, an empty constructor or multiple constructors are there in Java. Okay. So you can set the values of an object either through the constructors or using the setters. What is the definition of a setter? So if you look at it, so this is called setter method. So there is a standard syntax that setter method. Hey, Vasmus. So set, and then this is the name of the field is called name, and the first character of the name should become the capital. So the name of the method should be set name and then pass the values. So this is called the setter method. So what is the setter method? You are setting the value of one of the instance variable of an object. That is called the setter. Getter is you want to read one of the values of an object. That is called the getter. What is the standard format of a getter method? It's called get and address. So if you look at it, name and address, what are the things? Name and address are the name, address, mobile number. These are all the instance variable. What is the name of what is the format? What is the format of these setters and getters? So if you see here, so name is instance variable. And what is the getter method name format? Get, n becomes a capital, get name. What is the setter method format? Set, n becomes capital, set name. And then you have to pass the value that you want to set name, string name. And then it sets to it changes the value of that particular object. Okay. So a class contains instance variable, setters, getters, right? Constructors. Okay. So can somebody tell me what all a class contains? Can you repeat? What does a class contain? Class declaration contain? Kavya?
Setters, getters, constructor, objects.
Okay, so what is the definition of a setter?
To set the values to an object, sir.
Okay, what is the purpose of what is the definition of a getter?
To get the values which we have set before in the object.
So that is what is the getter, right? Okay. So then constructor, right? So did you all understand this constructor method? Did you all understand this constructor method?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you need to have, this is called the instance variables. So these instance variables, where does they come from? So these instance variables are identified based on the description of the physical world. These identified based on the description of the physical world, right? Okay. So for example, for restaurant, what is the description of a physical world of a restaurant? You have restaurant name,
Sir,
right?
sir, why you mentioned in private, sir?
Sorry?
Why you mentioned private there?
No, I didn't understand. What is it?
Sir, why you use a private string name, sir? Instead of private, you can make that as a public, but why you used to private?
No. So I think you are, have you done Java programming, Swati?
Yes, sir.
Have you used public variables?
Yes, sir. Because
Hmm?
yes, sir. Before I used only public key. Public.
Okay. How long did you do the Java programming?
Only 45 days.
Have you
sir.
done any application, written any application?
No, sir.
Then?
But I have
So
some.
we will talk about public, private when they are called access modifiers.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So
Okay,
just
sir.
focus on the topic. You are trying to digress from the topic,
Okay, sir.
right?
Okay, sir.
So let's focus on it. They will be covered in subsequent classes. So private and classes. So just focus on, did you understand the constructor? Did you understand setters and getters?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, don't try to, go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So for example, restaurant. So if you, let's say if you have to create the restaurant class, what are the properties? What are the instance variables required for restaurant?
Restaurant name, address, its email ID, phone number,
Right.
food items.
Yeah. So what kind of a restaurant? Is it a vegetarian restaurant or non-vegetarian restaurant? So all those details are required, right? So
Yes, sir.
if you have to create a restaurant class, create these instance variable, create the constructors, create the getters and setters. Okay. So how do you right? Then so in the main then you need to have a main method. So in the main method, you have to call the constructor, right? So then you want to print an object, you have to call toString method. What is a toString method? So if you print an object is pointing to a memory location. If you do not have a toString, what will get printed? It prints the memory address, right? So if you do not have the toString method, right? If you print an object, customer object, it prints the memory location. So to actually print the contents of an object, so then you need this method called toString. Okay. So this toString is required. So how do you create these getters and setters? So you have to go to the class. So click on right click, note down the steps, new. So then you have a source. So you have generate getters and setters. So what do? You have to right click on the class. Let me again write down the steps. Right click on the class. You have to go to source. Under source, you have generate getters and setters. When you do that, then it generates these getters and setters methods for you. Okay. Similarly, you need to right click and click on source and say generate toString method. So when you do that, then basically the toString method will be generated. Okay. So you can write these methods manually, or to make it faster, you can use the Eclipse editor for generating getters, setters, and constructors also. You can also generate the constructors. Source. So you have generate construct using fields, right? When you do that, then the constructor method you can generate it. So the exercise that I'm going to give you today, so you need to create, so please note it down. You have to create 4 different classes today. So all the 4 classes we talked about, so you need to create. So you all have to create the following 4 different classes. That is your exercise. One is restaurant. Okay. Second is delivery agent. Third is customer. Fourth is food item. Okay. So you will create these 4 classes today. So you will create the class. You will create the constructors. You will create the setters, getters, toString, right? Then you will call this, then you will have to call them in the main method, create the, then you have to, in the main method, you have to create the objects of restaurant, you have to create, delivery agent you have to create, right? Then food items you have to create, customer you have to create, and then call these and then print those well. When you create the objects and print the values, that is your exercise for the day. At the end of the day, you have to create all these 4 different classes. Is that clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So how do you run the program? So right click. So let me run. You have to click for run as. So run Java application, right? So when you run it, so for example, if you see here in the program, initially I created an object. So if you look at it, the code, what is the code here? So I created customer with these 3 fields. And then I printed the, so how do you print? What is the statement you have to call? System dot out dot println. That is called the print statement for printing the object. System dot out dot println. Okay. So I'm going to copy this code. You're all there in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to copy this. Okay, so this is the class. This is the class you can use as a reference to create all your 4 other classes. Okay, so you all understood. So a class contains what? A local variable, setter, getter, constructor, right? So then toString method. So what is the purpose of toString method? Can somebody tell me what is the purpose of toString method? Malini, for 2 minutes. వినిపిస్తున్నాయి ఇక్కడ అందుకు. So what is the purpose of two-string method?
At a time we can give two names, sir.
To
Two class
print
names.
the values.
At
No,
a time
the
we can
purpose
give
of-
two values, sir.
Yeah, you can create any number of objects.
Yes, sir.
So the purpose of two-string is to print the values of an object. What is the purpose of two-string? To print the values of two-string. Without two-string, when you print an object, what will get printed? Memory location gets printed. What will get printed? Memory location. So to print the values, what is the method that you have to required in the class? It's called two-string method. How do you generate the two-string method? Again, so let me show you. You have to right click on the class. So you have to go to the source. So in the source, you have various. These are all called getters and setters. You can generate the two-string. You can generate the constructor. So all these methods you have to generate. Before that, what is that you have to write in the class? You have to declare your instance variable, right? So what are the instance variables format? So for now, declare all the instance variables using private. What is private? What is public and all? We will explain subsequent classes. Do not worry. So private, then data type, private integer or private float. Then
it gives all the receipt. Okay, we can close now immediately. Okay, fine. Yeah.
Sorry, who is that? Hello.
Yes, sir. She
Please go
has
on mute.
actually. Yeah, Swati has the calculation. I'm telling you right away.
No,
One
who is
second.
this guy?
Yes, sir.
Akash, who is that guy who is talking?
Swati side is coming.
Current balance is different, sir. The current balance we cannot count.
Swati, can you go on mute? Okay. Right? So you need to go again here. So you have to first declare all your instance variables. So what is the format of instance? Private, then followed by the data type, followed by the instance variable name. So create the class, in that declare the variable names, then go to here, right click, right? Then right click here, source, then generate getters and setters, then two-string constructor. These are all the things there. Then go to the main method. So then in the main method, you have to create your objects, restaurant object, delivery agent object, food items object. We call the constructors. So for each of the four classes, you need to have four different main method, each corresponding, create it. And then you can also use the setters to set the values. And then you need to print the values. Okay. So that is your exercise for the day. All of you need to complete all the four different classes. So a class, what is the difference between, what are the three different variable types? Static, local, instance. The static, what is the static variable exist at what level? Class level. So there is only one instance of a class static variable exists. Whereas instance variable is, it exists if we have 5,000 objects, so there are 1,000 instance variables exist. So what's the difference between static and instance? So instance variables exist equivalent to number of objects, whereas the static variable exists only one for the entire class, right? So what local variables are, they're declared inside the method. They're used for the temporary processing purposes. Okay. So that is local, static, and instance. Okay. So what else is there? Okay, then data types. What are the data types? There are two kinds of data types. Primitive, we discussed, and non-primitive, right? So what non-primitive are class, interface, string. These are all the non-primitive data type. What's the difference between primitive and non-primitive? What's the difference? Can somebody tell me?
Primitive is already defined, sir. Non-primitive is not defined. Already.
No, I said basically when do you use a class? A class is something that you cannot describe using a single field. Can you describe customer using single field?
No, sir.
So all these non-primitives are required when you cannot describe them as a single field. Primitive, you can describe them using a single field. Non-primitive like a class. So basically class and interface, you need to use multiple fields to describe a particular physical entity like a restaurant, like a customer, like a product. These are all different attributes. That is called the non-primitive. So these are all operators. What is an operators? So operators are, you have arithmetic operators like star, division, like a calculator, right? So forget about these are all called the binary operations. We will not use them. Relational operators, what? Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. They're all called relational operators. Then logical operators are so when you have a conditions, you wanted to have multiple conditions, use A equal to A greater than B and B greater than C. So like this, you wanted to have multiple if then else condition, then it's called logical operators. This is called and this is called logical OR. And then ternary is nothing but, if we will talk later. Then assignment operator. Assignment is you want to assign the values. So you want to assign equal plus equal to means it's a double operation. You add it and assign. Star equal to is multiply and assign. Less than or equal to is division and assign. Remainder and assign. Right? So like this, these are all called the various assignment operators. What are the operators? You have assignment, logical operators, relational operators, arithmetic operators. There are keywords. What is the keywords? Can somebody tell me what is the keyword or what is the purpose of keyword?
Wider public.
See, the purpose of a keyword is they are Java language words which cannot be used as variables. They are the Java language words. For example, you cannot declare continue as a variable name. You cannot use continue as a variable name because it's a keyword. Keyword are, it's a standard words that are used by the Java language. So these are all called the keywords. None of these keywords cannot be used as a variables or anywhere this thing. So they have a semantic meaning. Each of these keywords has separate semantic meaning. All right. So right. So then there is something called this. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
If you look at it, what is this? So the parameter name is name. These are all called, what are these? These are all called the parameters. Right? And these are all called instance variables. So this is also same name. Parameter is also same name. Then how do you differentiate the instance variable versus parameters? When you use this dot name, it means This is called instance variable. So whatever the value that is coming through the method, value is being assigned to the instance variable, right? That is the purpose of using this. This means refers to the current object. What is the meaning of this? This dot is current object. Okay. All right, I think that's the session for the day. So you all have the quiz. Now start. Let me share the link. Okay, this is the today's quiz. All of you need to complete it.